Welcome back. My name is Dak, and today in this video I'm going to be showing you a blitz rated game that a 3+2 blitz game that I played as black against an opponent that was a little bit higher than me. I'm 1280 and the other person was 1296. So let's see. Started off, they moved down with a, above the queen, a D4 position. I like to do the perk defense. I move up with my pawn up to d6. They move forward there. I move my knight up, getting ready to do an Indian defense. They're moving their pawns forward, trying to establish the center. I bring my pawn up. They bring a knight out. There we go, moving out my bishop here. And you see just a lot of development right here. And so now we're set. We're getting in. I castle my king to the side, and let's see what happens. Move a knight. I put pressure with my light squared knight right here, putting pressure on their knight. They bring a knight, their own bishop back in to defend. I move my queen over. The idea being is I can see a line of sight right here. They're going to end up castling, and I will then put pressure. I'll sacrifice a bishop to be putting pressure on. So I move my bishop up there. Surprisingly, does not take. At this point, I was a little confused. Most of the time, pawns take bishops. And now this is a part of chess I've not studied enough. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do next. In the comments, you might be screaming at me, but I choose to bring my queen up here. And so doing, they move their bishop back. This would have been one mate checkmate if to go back one, if they had moved a pawn up here, moved a pawn there. I would have just moved with my queen, moved in for checkmate, and there would have been nothing to do. But because the bishop comes back, it defends. Not knowing exactly what to do next, I just develop a knight to get it involved. Now they push the pawn forward here, and again, I could take, but then get retaken, so that's not a good idea. I could do an exchange of bishops, and that's what I do. I move it, the rook takes it. I then move the queen into position. I'm thinking if I can get my knight here, and if this knight were to move somewhere else, say like here, or it opens up at some other point, maybe I put some pressure by a pawn to get this knight out of the way, then I could do another checkmate move by having my knight protect my queen here and checkmate there. So that's my next thought process. They move the queen down, getting in position. I move my knight up. There we go. So I'm thinking, okay, if I could get this knight out of here somewhere, probably from a pawn or maybe from a knight sacrifice something, I can do a one-move checkmate. They move the rook out of the way. That prevents me from now doing the one-move checkmate because it clears a path out. All right, I spent some time thinking about it. Let's attack. Let's put some pressure. Let's open up the board. Now they're offering a queen trade. Attacking my queen, asking for it back. I could move out of the way, and it succumbs to pressure. This would be a spot, but these two would be available. But then they would just probably start putting some more pressure on me. Maybe move the pawn down. If I was here, trying to get me stuck is what I think that they're trying to do. So I take, do a queen trade. At this point, I think they're a little bit better than I am, but I'm going to start opening the board. Pawn takes with a knight. I take. They take. Great. So at this point, they got a pawn hanging. I could take now, but instead I choose to bring the rook over to this open square and take control of this area. This move was a little surprising. I don't know why the king came down, which was great for me, because instead of trying to fortify this pawn by moving it up or something like that, instead it allows me to take a hanging pawn. Now at this point, I've got two pieces up here and I've got an open file. I'm feeling pretty good about my position. As far as material goes, I've just taken a pawn, so we've done a queen trade. We both got two rooks. We both got dark squared bishops. We both got one knight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pawns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've got pawns, so I'm up. I'm actually up in position. It puts pressure right here on my knight. um, let's see, what do I decide to do? I then, okay, I'm sacrificing the knight because I know if um, bishop takes, I can retake in a couple of different ways. If, for example, something great happened, like the king moved this way or that way, my knight could take the rook, which would be a great exchange of pieces. But of course, they take with the bishop. At this point, I could do I could take with the bishop, but I decided instead to take with the rook. The rook being to get it up in here and put more pressure in different areas. So now I'm looking at this two ways. I'm looking here. I'm looking to put check. And so they are going to do exchange of rooks. And I'm like, okay, let's exchange rook. Or, I could take, and then they take, but then I would be opening up this file right here. So instead, I decide to double up with my rooks. There we go. And so when they take my rook, I just replace it. So we've done a trading off of rooks, but now I'm in a better position because it's like, all right, I can go up here to put on check. I can take. I can, do a lot more stuff. Whereas they're kind of stuck over here. They decide to put their rook right here to protect this pawn, which I thought was kind of interesting. Their knight prevents me from going, prevents my rook from coming up. I don't know exactly what their thought process was. At this point, I take, and they respond with resigning at that point. And again, a pawn could have taken here. I would have taken their pawn, and then, there's still plenty of game to play. There's rook could have come taken this pawn. We could have been hunting pawns and found ourselves in a rook pawn endgame, but I guess they didn't want to play it. Let's look at the analysis board. So yeah, just moving kind of quickly through this. White's better. I do my Indian, get set up. By the time we're getting out of the opening game, yeah, white is significantly better, but doesn't follow the most accurate moves. Instead, again, right here, see, this was a bad move on my part. The meter came down significantly. Should have taken, but instead of taking, they moved the rook over, which gives a lot of advantage. Again, another bad move. The computer doesn't like what I'm doing. Oh man, yeah, that bishop, they were not impressed by that. But then boom, this pawn forward, huge mistake. And when I'm playing at the 1200 level, it's like these mistakes are expected. And so take. I should be moving. They want me to, what the computer wants me to do is move that pawn forward. Instead I move the queen there, move this knight up. And now I got a little bit of advantage. I finally moved that pawn up. That's the thing. I oftentimes do the right move, but I oftentimes do it late. I need to be better about getting the right move sooner. Offers the queen exchange, which helps me, so I take it. And then, yeah, it tells me I should take, which I do. They retake. So at this point, my knight should have come here instead, but I do an exchange of knights. And then, like I see it, the hanging pawn, but instead I move my rook first, which, computer does not like at all. But does not like their king move. So I then take, and that pawn was a bad move apparently. That pawn was poor choice. My check, though, did not capitalize the way I should have. I should have gone here apparently, and taken the knight. They take a knight. Yeah. They take a bishop. Knight comes here. They move over. I take the rook. Yeah, there would have been, so from here it would have been a fork between the rook and the king. So that's what they're missing. If you move this bishop out of the way, then you can do a fork. But I did it too early. I take. They come over. The computer wants me to take initially, but the computer still thinks I'm doing okay. Take. They should move the. a knight out of the way. They don't do it. I've got a huge advantage. Take, and yeah, at this point, huge advantage for me. The pawn should take. And it's telling me I should move the pawn forward. See, I would take here. I would go there, which apparently is a bad move. Oh, because yeah, like I said, oh, I start losing pawns. So yeah, if I move here though, to prevent him from doing it, what happens next? Comes here, take, take. There he's moving pawns down. I'm getting out of the way. Yeah, and we just see a pawn endgame, but I'm significantly better. Alright, thanks for watching. That was my blitz game. We'll see you next time.